Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to Rochelle. It's a big privilege and honor to host Minister McGuinty here. MP Amandeep, Sochi, thank you. Thank you for being here. Rochelle is a great example of a defense company that started here in Canada and became one of the largest armored vehicle manufacturers. We were able to create something that never existed before with the team that stands behind me and with me. We're able to develop vehicles that save hundreds of lives all the time and help our closest allies to defend the values that we all share. And this is not the obvious thing that anyone can proud and be part of the way we are, because we were able not just to create the great product, but also to create a sustainability part of it. We were able to create a Canadian vehicle that is now became one of the most successful platforms within the 4x4 category. And with this, I would like to thank the entire team and the Minister and everyone else here joining us today. Amandeep, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amandeep Sodhi, your Member of Parliament for Brampton Centre. It's a pleasure to be here at Rochelle today as we welcome Minister McGuinty to the riding. Thank you to Roman and your team for hosting us. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat nations, who have cared for these lands and waters since time immemorial. Canada is grateful for their stewardship, and we remain committed to respectful partnership and meaningful reconciliation with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis living in Canada. I would also like to acknowledge my colleagues that are here today as well. MP Sahota from Brampton North Caledon, MP Baker from Etobicoke Centre, and MP Sonia Sidhu from Brampton South. Today we're here to highlight Rochelle's outstanding contributions to Canada and support for the Canadian Armed Forces, our allies, and our partners. Your work on the Senator Armored Vehicle is a powerful example of Canadian innovation and creativity. These are the vehicles that protect the brave men and women defending Ukraine from existing threats to their country's security and sovereignty. They also showcase the incredible talent we have here in this riding, across Peel region, and throughout Canada's defense industry. As the Government of Canada ramps up investments in our military, we're in turn strengthening our security and sovereignty and making sure that the people who defend our values every day have what they need to do the job. We also know that investing in Canada's defense creates real benefits for communities like ours, such as supporting jobs, innovation, and economic growth. And at a time when the world is changing quickly, Canada is stepping up, and Rochelle is stepping up to support our friends when they need it most. That's what today's announcement is all about. It's an honor to be here with you, and it's now my pleasure to introduce Canada's Minister of National Defence, the Honourable David J. McGuinty.
Better. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Amandeep, for the kind introduction and those good context-setting remarks. I also want to thank my colleagues from the Brampton region who are here with us today. Secretary of State Ruby Sahota, Sonia Sidhu, and of course my colleague Ivan Baker, an incredible advocate for Ukraine in Parliament over many years. Ambassador Plahotniuk, Senator Yusuf, Zenon Potoshny, thank you for joining us today as well. And thank you, Roman, and the entire Rochelle team for your warm welcome. It's great to be here today in Brampton. For more than 150 years, the Lawrence Scots Regiment has called Brampton home. Today, hundreds of reservists serve part-time across Peel region, Halton and Dufferin, balancing their day jobs with a commitment to serve. And that defense presence has a sizable impact right here. In Peel Region alone, National Defence spends roughly $383 million annually, which goes to support Canadian Armed Forces members and civilian defence employees, local armories, and the wider regional economy. This region is also home to some of Canada's most innovative defence companies, including outstanding homegrown businesses like yours. That's why I'm thrilled to be here today, to meet all of you and talk about the great things we're building together for Canada, our allies, and our friends in Ukraine. We're rebuilding, we're rearming, and we're reinvesting in the Canadian Armed Forces to ensure our people in uniform have the capabilities they need to defend our security and our sovereignty. And we're doing that by partnering with companies like yours that turn concepts and prototypes into battlefield advantage. Here at Rochelle, your work is directly helping Ukrainians defend their country against Russia's brutal and illegal war of aggression. On February 24th, marking the 4th anniversary of Putin's tragic and disastrous decision to invade Ukraine, the Prime Minister announced a $2 billion support package that includes a donation of 400 armoured vehicles, including 383 Rochelle Senator vehicles built right here. Ukrainian personnel on the front line have told us how these vehicles are making a real difference for them on the ground. They've remarked on how quick they are to maneuver and how safe they feel while inside them. And the newest variants reflect the lessons they've learned on the battlefield. They have been constantly improved. Now it is designed even stronger to protect these brave defenders. Of the 383 vehicles Prime Minister Carney announced, 228 of them are mine-resistant, ambush-protected variants. 100 are medical evacuation vehicles, and 55 are the command variant. This builds on Canada's previous donations, including 200 Rochelle vehicles in 2023 and the first 8 in 2022. Today, Ukraine operates a total fleet of roughly 1,700 Rochelles, supplied by Canada, allies including the United States and the Czech Republic, and through Ukraine's own direct purchases. That's an extraordinary contribution by a Canadian company. Since the beginning of this war, you have moved quickly to mass-produce the Senator, and in doing so, you've quietly reinforced Canada's reputation as a reliable ally and a reliable producer of high-quality defence equipment. This reputation is one of the many reasons we are renewing its focus on strengthening our defence industrial base, as laid out in our new defence industrial strategy. This strategy is all about ensuring that Canada develops and sustains the sovereign capabilities we need to protect our country, support our armed forces, and stand with our allies. It will guide investments in critical areas, including land systems, shipbuilding, critical minerals, and emerging technologies, while helping Canadian companies scale up and compete and win globally. Over the next 10 years, we expect the strategy to generate 125,000 new jobs across Canada and increase defence industry revenues by more than 240%. The defence industrial strategy will increase defence exports by 50%, raise the share of defence contracts awarded to Canadian firms to 70%, and boost government investment in defence-related research and development by 85%, among other transformative changes to Canada's defence sector. Today, that sector already generates over $14 billion in annual revenue, and it supports more than 81,000 full-time jobs. So as you can see, there's enormous potential for growth. We are also prioritizing Canadian industry through our Buy Canadian approach, which strengthens domestic capability, supports Canadian workers, and ensures our armed forces can rely on secure and resilient supply chains, because they need them. Car la défense nationale ne se limite pas qu'à l'équipement et aux opérations, elle repose aussi sur les personnes, les entreprises et les communautés qui contribuent à la fabrication de produits de classe mondiale pour garantir que le Canada puisse se défendre, soutenir nos forces armées et se tenir côte à côte avec nos alliés. And it's why partnerships with companies like Rochelle matter so much. The work you are doing here in Peel Region shows exactly what partnerships can achieve. Thank you again to the entire Rochelle team for making sure our friends in Ukraine have the vital tools they need to defend their territory and their freedom. And for your leadership, your innovative spirit, your risk-taking, your entrepreneurship, and your contributions to Canada. It's my privilege to pass the podium over to a leader whose commitment and clarity continue to shape meaningful dialogue. Ambassador Andriy Plahotniuk, thank you very much for joining us here today, sir. The microphone is yours.
Minister McGuinty, distinguished members of Parliament, dear Mr. Kwon, dear friends. It's our profound honor to be here today among our true and most reliable friends. Since day one of this full-scale, brutal military invasion of Russia against Ukraine, Canada has been standing together with us in defending international law, in defending human rights, in defending freedom. On behalf of my President, government, and people of Ukraine, we extend our most profound gratitude to Parliament of Canada, to Government of Canada, and every Canadian from coast to coast to coast for strong solidarity and support that is felt by every Ukrainian in every town and city of Ukraine. This is what really matters. This is what really supports us in our everyday fight for freedom and dignity. Thank you for all of us, from all of us to all of you, for this. 25.5 billion of total assistance from Canada, including 8.5 billion of defense assistance. Every package of that assistance is always timely, is always comprehensive, and reflects everything that we need. Dear Aman, thank you for hosting us, and thank you to you and to your entire team for this strong commitment to ensure that every piece that you produce here is delivered according to the schedule. Timing really matters for Ukrainian. Timing really is important when we're talking about saving lives of Ukrainian military on the battlefield. Thank you so much for supporting Ukrainians here in this place, because it's so important for them to support their families. It's so important for them to get new competences, to get new knowledge and experience that, in our opinion, they will be able to use when we are talking about post-war reconstruction. Once again, thank you all, dear friends, for supporting Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. And now it's my privilege to invite Mr. Bobby Kwon to make his remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Since the start of Russia's illegal invasion, Canada has been steadfast in helping Ukraine defend its sovereignty. At CCC, we are proud to support that effort as an executing agency for the Government of Canada. Working closely with the Department of National Defence, CCC has delivered more than $2 billion in Canadian assistance to Ukraine. CCC moves responsibly at the speed of business to source Canadian solutions and manage deliveries in complex, rapidly changing environments. For Ukraine, this means winter clothing, communication gears, medical instruments, demining equipment, and soon more armored vehicles manufactured here by the Rochelle team, just to name a few. More importantly, these donations are saving lives and strengthening Ukraine's ability to defend itself. So far, CCC has facilitated 3 D&D contracts with Rochelle to deliver nearly 600 vehicles in support of Ukraine. These Rochelle vehicles respond to Ukraine's specific needs and have real impact on the ground. They also demonstrate the strength of Canada's defense industrial base. Through our government-to-government contracting approach, CCC helps to turn Canadian defense innovation and manufacturing capacity into reliable solutions, many of which are also exported globally. In doing so, we help Canadian defense companies to support our allies and partners while also ensuring that our country has reliable, sovereign access to the defense capabilities we need. Today's announcement reflects what is possible when government and industry work together with purpose, and at CCC, we are proud to play a part of our role to strengthen Canada's defense industrial base while supporting Ukraine. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Hello, everyone. That now concludes the announcement. Thank you, merci. We'll now open it up for questions. 1 question, 1 follow-up. Please state your name and outlet before asking. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, Minister McGuinty. My name is Mahan Hamidi. I'm with the Canadian Press. You said yesterday that Canada would not engage offensively in the ongoing war in Iran, but you did not rule out defensive or providing non-combat support. Can you confirm if any CAF members are deployed right now in such roles, and whether any RCAF members are currently deployed in the region with the American on jointly operated radar aircraft?
So let me be really clear on this, because it's important, very important for Canadians to understand. Generally, we have CAF members deployed in the Middle East. Different settings, different roles, different purposes. But it's very clear, very important for Canadians to understand. Canada was not consulted before this conflict began. Canada has not participated in this conflict, and Canada has no intention of doing so. Clearly, beyond that, the Prime Minister was also clear yesterday in indicating it is time now for basically an opportunity to pursue dialogue and to look for, hopefully, a cessation of the hostilities. We have members of the CAF in the region. They are not involved in the prosecution of this war. I am not in a position to reveal any more information than that for security reasons. It's very important that we, first of all, focus on Canadians in the region who want to leave that region. Secondly, it's very important for me as Minister of Defence to make sure that we protect, that we keep our forces out of harm's way. They are not engaged in the prosecution of this war. Écoutez, c'est très important de répéter encore une fois que le Canada n'a pas été consulté avant le lancement de l'attaque par les gouvernements américains et israéliens. Le Canada ne participe pas et le Canada a aucunement l'intention d'y participer. Donc, c'est une question maintenant de poursuivre le dialogue. Le Premier ministre a été clair en Grande-Bretagne hier. C'est important en ce moment de procéder au dialogue pour essayer de diminuer la situation, parce que ça semble être quand même assez volatile. Et donc, dans la région, il y a de temps en temps des Canadiens, des gens des Forces armées canadiennes. Je ne suis pas en mesure de parler en détail pour des raisons de sécurité. pour nos membres de nos forces armées canadiennes. Je ne peux pas dire plus que ça, sauf pour dire que tous les membres sont sains et saufs dans la région.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on a related topic. The Conservatives are accusing your government of being too secretive for not notifying the public that the Canada base camp at the Kuwait Air Base was apparently struck by a missile. What's your response to the Conservatives' argument that our allies are openly disclosing such information while in daily briefings, actually, why we would not, your government would not be open to do so?
Yeah. With all due respect to my colleagues in the Conservative Party, we will take our lead from the operational experts in the Canadian Armed Forces, who have a policy of being very careful about the security of our Canadian Armed Forces on the ground. I think it's up to the Conservative Party to explain why they might want to pursue information or reveal information that might compromise that security. And dare I go one step further, I think if Mr. Poilievre had the requisite security clearance, he might get a briefing that would indicate otherwise, and he might actually change his perspective.
I have a question about, it's Peter Armstrong from CBC. I have a question about the announcement, but just to follow up on my colleague. One of the administration's top counterterrorism experts has resigned in the United States today, saying that he did not believe that Iran posed a threat to the United States. What is your reaction to that? And I think more importantly, what does it tell us about Canada's decision to stay out of this?
Can't really comment on the goings-on internally in a sovereign state like the United States. I'm not sure why the individual resigned. First I hear of it. Made a principled decision, I suppose. I don't know the details. Look, the United States is going to find its way forward on this with Israel. In terms of Canada's position, we've looked at this very carefully. We're following it hour by hour. It's a very volatile situation. And so we're very, very careful in terms of taking steps in any direction. But for us from the beginning, it was clear that joining this in terms of the prosecution of the war offensively was not going to occur. And I said yesterday as well that if any neighboring states might require assistance, we'll see. But we're going to watch this hour by hour, day by day, and we will govern ourselves accordingly. Écoutez, la question de démission d'un cadre supérieur au White House, c'est très difficile pour moi d'en parler. Je ne connais pas les détails. C'est un État souverain, c'est quelqu'un qui a probablement démissionné au niveau de principe. Mais pour le Canada, nous sommes clairs depuis le début. C'est important pour nous de suivre la situation heure par heure, jour par jour. C'est très volatile dans la région. Ça continue de l'être. On ne sait pas ce qui va se passer au niveau de réponse iranienne, par exemple. Mais nous sommes en mesure de suivre ce qui se passe. Et ce qui est important, c'est que nos membres des Forces armées canadiennes sont sains et saufs. Et il n'y a aucunement de blessures ou plus sérieux. Donc, on le suit de très près.
And for the announcement here today, 338 of these senators being shipped to Ukraine. You also made an announcement about the spaceport yesterday. I'm just wondering how this fits into the broader picture, trying to reach that, whatever it is, 3.5% of GDP NATO target. Where are we on our defense spending commitments, and how does this fit in?
Fully intend to meet our 2% defense spend in the next 2 weeks, by March 31st. We'll have more news to say about that in a few weeks. Look, I think what it indicates, what today indicates, and what yesterday's space announcement indicates, is that our defense industrial strategy is well-timed. We've worked very hard to craft one that fills or finds opportunities that are open to us. One of the 10 key areas we identified in that defense industrial strategy was space. We know that what's occurring in space now is serious. We want to make sure that Canada has sovereign capabilities, isn't depending on others For example, we know that about 20% of the Canadian economy every day depends on satellites. Whether you're ordering food to your house, ordering off a website, doing online banking, trading in a stock market, or otherwise, we are very dependent on satellites. So we want to make sure that Canada acquires more of its own sovereign ability to have our own and to launch our own, which is why we are investing in a launch pad with up to 6 pads in Nova Scotia. It also will meet a major global opportunity. There are thousands of satellites that are backlogged that have not yet been put into space because there aren't enough launch sites. So when I talk to my colleagues from the European Union, where there's only one launch site in Norway, they're very excited to hear that Canada will be participating in what is a $2 trillion marketplace in the next 10 years. So what we're doing here is marrying our needs with the economic opportunities that are inherent in getting those needs met. And so yesterday's announcement, $200 million over 10 years, was very much about creating those capabilities. It's not that we're getting back into the space business. We've been in the space business for some time. It's just that we're being more strategic about the opportunity. So we're very hopeful as we move along on the defense industrial strategy, Peter, in this and other areas, it will give rise to, like I said, 125,000 new jobs, major increases in exports. That's one of the reasons why we signed on to the SAFE agreement in Europe. We're the only non-European country to have been able to join so far, which gives us access to all kinds of procurement opportunities, including in space. So this is a very important moment as we align factors in Canada to give rise to new defense industrial activities while meeting our needs.
That now concludes questions. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Yes.